Welcome back to the Discount Property Investor Podcast. Our mission is to share what we have learned from our experience and the experience of others to help you make more money investing like a pro. We want to teach you how to create wealth by investing in real estate the Discount Property Investor way. To jumpstart your real estate investing career, visit freewholesalecourse.com, the most complete free course on wholesaling real estate ever. Thanks for tuning in.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Discount Property Investor Podcast. I am your host, David Dodge, and today I have a special guest, David Richter, and David is the author of Profit First for Real Estate Investors. And I am very excited to have David on the show today to learn more about this book and really to learn more about David as the real estate investor as well. So David, welcome to the show, my man. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, David. It's an honor to be here.
Well, we're honored to have you on the show. We're really grateful to have your time. And just to give the audience a little bit of information, David is an active real estate investor. He's been essential in closing over 850 deals over the last 7 years. So David, you've been in the game about as long as I have full time, it sounds like. Mm-hmm. We're neck and neck, my friend. This is including wholesale turnkey BRRRR, which I love. So happy to have another BRRRR guy here. Yep. Owner finance, rentals, lease options, and other exit strategies that you can think of, man. Same, love it. And while growing and building a real estate business from 5 deals a month to over 25 deals a month, he realized that as much money was coming in, it was going out at the same time, right? So with the unique opportunity of being in every seat as a real estate investor, he found a calling in the company's finance seat to help businesses see where their money really went or where it goes, right? So David helps real estate investing companies at this point turn around and go from going out of business to building cash reserves by using the Profit First cash flow system. So I mentioned he wrote the Profit First for Real Estate Investors book recently. And this book is a derivative of the original Profit First by Mike Michalowicz. And I really, really like Mike. I love that book. And Dave, I've read yours and it's amazing. You guys both have really, really great books.
Awesome. Thank you.
And Dave's goal is to completely transform the real estate investing industry when it comes to how real estate investors view their finances, guys. He wants to bring investors true financial clarity and freedom and help every investor stop living deal to deal. Wow. What an intro, David.
Yeah. I just need to take you with me everywhere. So.
You're the man, brother. I love it. You got all kinds of cool stuff to tell us and teach us today. And guys, listen closely because David is the real deal. And he is going to give a lot of value on this episode today. So David, what inspired you to write this book, man?
Oh, man. The fact that I saw so many investors making a lot of money, but always being broke. That's really the core of it. Is I saw it in that business where we were doing 25, 30 deals a month, doing a ton of income, but at the same time, we weren't keeping anything. I mean, it's like money in, money out. But then I saw it all over the place too. So that's where through a series of events, I went through and helped several investors really know where their money was, and that I could go into the actual stories there. But that's where I saw just if you know where your money's going, that's like the first big step of turning it all around and getting that real financial freedom. Then I read Profit First from the recommendation of a mentor. That blew my mind. I was like, this is awesome. Took 10 pages of notes, said, this is a great framework. That's what got me started down this path because I saw that so many people hate the finances in the entrepreneurial world and as the owners, but at the same time, we deal with cash and we deal with our money all the time. We just have no idea what to do with it. So that's kind of what got me kicked down on this road and just like started was everyone is out there making money, but they all feel broke. I think you're muted, David.
Ooh,
like on Zoom.
You were right.
Look at that.
I was moving my desk around, getting organized over here. Man, I can't agree more, David. I really can't. Especially if you're new. If you're new, money comes in and money goes out. And before you know it, you can get yourself into situations, and it's not even necessarily for new people either.
Right.
You
No.
know, but before you
Oh,
know it,
no.
you got 30 grand coming in a month, but you got 30 grand going out a month, or in some
Yep.
cases, 50 grand a month coming in and going out.
Mhm.
And if you aren't managing that, and the title of the book, Profit First for Real Estate Investors, right? Or real estate investing, is investing or
Yeah.
investors? Real estate
Investing, but
investing.
it's
Yeah,
it's
right.
for the investors, but
It's
yeah, it's
for the
real estate
investor,
investing.
right? But one of the main things that this book, has taught me, you've taught me, as well as Mike has taught me in his book, is you have to pull out, money to pay yourself, and you got to do it first. But you also need to have other accounts that you're funding either weekly, monthly, quarterly. I mean, ideally weekly though, right? Or weekly or
Yeah.
bi-weekly, that you're funding for your taxes. I even instruct my students to have a separate account for marketing. And when they do a
Good.
deal, take 10%, stick it in that marketing account,
Awesome.
and take a percentage and put it into that profit account. And then take a percentage and put it into that tax account, right? And do that as the money comes in. And, one of the things that this helps with is if you find yourself being short to pay your bills every month, well, then you really need to take a second look at your expenses. And this basically is something that you're going to need to be monitoring weekly or monthly at a minimum, right? But if you're not putting money aside, what ends up happening is you always typically seem to have enough. But having enough to pay the bills doesn't mean you get paid. It doesn't mean that you've set aside money for taxes. It doesn't mean you've set aside money for marketing. It doesn't mean that you've set aside money for escrow if you're a landlord.
Right.
And you're not having that included in your mortgages. So you got to basically start planning. And you know what this kind of reminds me of in a way? It's really more of a theory that it reminds me of than the actual principle, but like Dave Ramsey's envelope methods, right?
Yep.
Where you get paid, you cash your check, you put it in cash, and then you put the cash in the envelopes, right?
Yep.
And I like that because essentially he's doing the same thing. He's allocating money day one to cover day 60 and 180 and 360 or whatever it may be, right? So, man, dive deeper on this for me, Dave. I'm doing all the talking here, bro.
Right. Yeah. So here we go. So that's where I believe a lot of the books we read, like Rich Dad, Poor Dad and Richest Man in Babylon, like a lot of the books most of the entrepreneurs read, they talk about this. They talk about pay yourself first, or in the Richest Man in Babylon, it says a portion of all I have is mine to keep. So we get that message a lot beat into our heads from different sources or masterminds events. That's why Profit First to me took it a step further and said, let's utilize your habits and create a system around it to pay yourself first, because that's what the whole Profit First methodology is. It's utilizing the wealth habits, like the habits of wealthy people, and instilling them inside of you and inside of your business. Why are so many people broke in business? Usually because they come from a background and they have no idea how to get out of that mindset or those habits of being broke. They're used to living paycheck to paycheck in their W-2 job. They jump into real estate thinking this is going to be the end all be all. And then they make more money, but they spend more money. So they are in the same exact habits that they were in their W-2. So it's like we have to break that cycle and those habits. And that's why when we first get into real estate investing and we first get into business, most people have that formula, that broken formula of sales minus expenses equals profit. Meaning I make a sale, I pay everyone else and their mother. And then if I have any left over, that'll be the profit that I take home. But that's usually what we've been doing in our personal finances too. It's like we get income in, we spend it all. And then maybe if there's some left over, I'll do something cool with it over here. Or, like that's when I can retire, my retirement fund, maybe, like that's just an afterthought. So it's like we have those habits inside of us. That's where I see Profit First flips that whole formula on its head. It says it's sales minus profit equals expenses, meaning I make a sale, I take that profit off the table first and pay myself, and then the business has to live on the expenses that are left over. So it's like it's trying to change the habits and the mindset versus like just putting a Band-Aid there of like, okay, make sure you just save a little bit at the end of the year. It's like, no, this is not what's going to create a wealthy entrepreneur. Because we didn't get into real estate investing. I don't think anyone did to create the cash eating monster that becomes their business. Like we didn't. That's not what we did. No one does. But we all feel that way.
Let's talk about that for a minute, man. So like, man, you nailed that, right? So first and foremost, you got to break the cycle and the bad habits of paying everyone else. And then what's left over is the profit. Like that's a mindset. That's a cycle. That's a habit. You got to stop all those. So I really want to, second that, agree 100%. And the profits need to be paid first. That's how you break the cycle. So another thing you had mentioned is, profit. I'm going to reword what you said. So tell me if I'm doing this right, but profit does not equal income minus expenses typically for most people, because the expenses don't end after you do that one equation. There's continuous amount of expenses, right? So yeah, so
they're looking for this event and it's never coming. And it's like,
and it's never coming
off in the future.
It's like, when do the expenses stop? Because the income only comes in every now and then, right?
Yeah.
When do these expenses stop so I can calculate this equation? And it's like, those expenses don't stop. They keep coming. All right. So how can somebody be, what would be your approach or your opinion or your advice to get somebody to, better recognize their expenses? Because this is something I could probably use some work on too. Let's be honest.
So I tell everyone that when I speak or even in the book that you need to escape your rat race. And how do you do that? You have to have that first goal. You have to even know what it takes to get out of your rat race. So I tell people, get your rat race number. I call it in the book your need number. What do you need on a monthly basis to cover your expenses and your current lifestyle? Let's say you don't even make a change. You don't go on the cutting spree and cut everything out of your life. Like, where are you right now? Most people don't even know that number or have not sat down because we're not the numbers people. So we don't usually even want to look into that. But it's like, how much are you spending? Because you could look at that and you're like, oh my gosh, I thought it was like $8,000 a month. And it's like $24,000 a month, or whatever it might be for you. And it's like, hey, I need to sit down and say, how much do I need? That's the first thing.
I think my number is probably somewhere around 7,500, give or take.
There you go.
So that's two mortgages and a car payment and food and insurance and, all the bills, roughly $7,500 a month. Love it. Okay. So start with the number that you need to live on.
Exactly.
And this is really the minimums, right? This is the least amount. Basically, how if what number would replace your job and you'd be able to live on. Not necessarily be rich or super wealthy or even necessarily happy, but just what's the minimum? So start with that number, find that number. I love it because I do this a lot. Okay. So then what? You got the number.
So find that number.
7,500.
So if you get that number, I would also get a second goal right away. And what does that want number? So if that need number gets you out of your rat race and breaks some of that bondage inside of your mind and those barriers of like, okay, now I've got at least this coming in, my need number. What do you want out of the business? Is it 50? Is it double that? Is it 15,000 a month or is it 50,000 a month? Like, why did you get into business and where do you want that to take you in income or net worth or equity or whatever it might be for you? What is that you want consistently coming in? So that way you are happy with what your business has turned into, because that's another goal too. Because if you set the need goal, that's a lot better than what most people do to get out of your rat race, is like just having that first goal. But if you say, I want to do 15K a month for myself, you'll probably break through that rat race number, that need number a whole lot faster. If you're like, I want to get to 15K, that's my first goal. It's like, shoot for the stars. You'll at least hit the moon. It's
Love
like,
it, man.
That's
Love
where
it.
Getting that would be next. Then the next step from there is actually setting the system in place. So once you know how to get out of your rat race, like what number that will take, now we have to put the system into practicality, into practical use here. Practicality where we put an actual, like you were saying, the actual accounts and setting all that up. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Sure.
Because we as entrepreneurs probably, and I say probably like almost rolling my eyes, I know for a fact, we like looking at our banks and our bank accounts online a whole lot more than like a QuickBooks or a financial statement or like, some financial software. Like most people they have, like I have my phone right here. My phone has my apps for the bank, and for all the different banks I bank with. And like, I look at my bank accounts on a daily or, bi-daily basis on every other day or whatnot. That's where we need to leverage that. We need to leverage what we're doing as entrepreneurs. Like, I don't need to teach you. I think everyone on here would just completely shut me down if I said, here's what you need to do. You need to go to your financial statements and pull up your P&L. It's like, no, I need you to do what you're already doing as an entrepreneur.
You're pulling up your talking banks. My language now, buddy.
You're right. You as an entrepreneur look at your bank accounts on a regular basis. So like, let's leverage that. One of the biggest mistakes all investors make, including entrepreneurs in general. So if you feel like, oh, I'm alone in this, you're not alone in this, is that they have one big bank account where all money comes in, all money goes out, and it's just like tossing a cash salad, like all the time. Like, I have no idea what's going on, but as money comes in, I'm throwing it out as fast as possible. That's a big mistake because number one, you don't know what's coming in or going out. You have no control over that. And then number two, you don't know if you could take any of that out for yourself. If you have one account, you don't know what's for yourself, for the IRS, to pay other people. If you have other people's money in there for rehab projects, it's like that gets real messy real fast.
Yeah, it does.
If you have
and
one
I've
big
gotten
bank
myself
account.
into bad situations.
Yeah.
With
so
one account and a lot of money for a different reason. And then you go pull money out and then you realize that you needed it or you owed it to somebody else. And yeah, it's no fun doing it that way.
No, it's not. So that's where we have to make sure that we leverage, like I was saying, the habits you already have with looking at your bank accounts. And we're going to set up, just like you said about Dave Ramsey and the envelope system. That's exactly what the practical steps of Profit First are, only the modernized envelope system with bank accounts. Because there's no way I want you getting an actual envelope and stuffing tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands.
Yeah,
of
we're
dollars
gonna have to put 50,000 in that tax account.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Don't need this huge stack.
Hey
it's
guys,
like
we needed a bigger.
We're not
file
Breaking
cabinet.
Bad here, like with these suitcases of money. So here's my suitcase for this account. No, what we're going to do is the modernized envelope system, and we're going to open up different bank accounts. And I call the first three that every entrepreneur under the sun, including real estate investors, that should open. I call them the Golden Trio because I love the Harry Potter movies and the Star Wars and all these big epic sagas that have three main heroes that are always making sure the story ends on a happy note, like making sure good triumphs over evil. Well, your business that you're building and that David's helping you like make more money with his podcast of like interviewing different people that, and like he's telling you the Burr method and like how you're going to make the money. Well, guess what? Your business and what you're doing with real estate is your epic saga. It is your Star Wars. You are the hero of that story. So you need to make sure you have three main heroes helping you along your journey. So that way it ends in a nice, happy fashion where you ride off into the sunset and it's a great ending. And so what are those three accounts? The first three accounts to open is the profit account, the owner's compensation account, and the owner's tax account. Those would be three accounts I would open up separately than your operational expense account that you already have set up. That's been your one account where everything goes in and out of. I always get the question, what is the difference between those three accounts? They sound like they're all for me, the owner. Well, ding, 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 you're a winner. So there you go. It is all for the owner to make sure that you're being taken care of. But the difference, especially between profit and owner's comp, profit is the icing on the cake. That's the account where you start putting money inside of that account. And we suggest every quarter you take up to 50% out of that account for whatever the heck you want. It is for your time, your blood, sweat, tears that you've put into the business. This is the return on an investment for you having a successful business. The other reason you could use that account is also to pay down bad debt. Any debt that's crushing you, use the profit account to, like, if you've got credit card debt or whatever it might be, use that account to lower it. So that way you can lower your blood pressure and sleep better at night. Like, use that profit account if you have that. The owner's compensation account is for you, the owner, to get paid for the work you do in the business. Especially when you first start out, are the number one employee. But I'll give you a secret too. Even if you're down the road and you're actually not doing any of the physical work, the day-to-day work, you're still the best employee because you're driving the business forward, usually in bigger ways, down the road. So you should be compensated for that. I also call this account not just owner's comp, but the get out of the rat race account. Like you start filling this account up on a regular basis with the $7,500, David, this is where if you start filling that up monthly with $7,500, then you are out of your rat race. You've gotten to your need number of what you need on a monthly basis. That's where it gets really fun. That's where I see clients' eyes light up where they're like, oh my gosh, like I know how much I need. And I just put 3 months in there of what I need. So maybe I could give myself a raise, or I'm out of the rat race, or like I have a legit business that's paying for my, for my expenses. So that's the fun account. That's the one like that can get you out of the rat race. And I would pay yourself on a weekly or bi-weekly or monthly basis from that account. So that's how those two are different. And then the tax account is to make sure if you do owe Uncle Sam anything, that you're putting it in a different account. So that way you're not touching it throughout the year. So that way you can actually sleep well at night when it comes time to actually pay that bill and get it off your plate. If you do the Burr method or keep properties, you can get that account down to really, really low and not have to save a bunch in there. But I would also suggest you still have that account just for anything that comes up, especially if you do a crazy big deal and then you still have to pay taxes. But that's the golden trio of accounts. Those are for the owner. If you don't have profitability and you feel like, why am I doing this? Why am I broke all the time? Why did I start my business? You're going to make a lot of your decisions from fear versus from your purpose of why you started it. Meaning, so what does that mean? That means if a deal comes across your plate and it's a slim deal, you'll just grab at it, even though it might make just a little bit of margin or profit, or might set you back. You're just like, I have to have that next deal, or I have to have everything closed. I have to do this or I'm going out of business. That is a dangerous place to be, because you know what you're acting like? You're acting like those motivated buyers and sellers that you talk to all the time. So like, don't become the motivated seller in your own business because you don't know where your money is and where it's going. So that's where if you set up these accounts, it puts you on the right path. You start funding those accounts first when a sale comes in. That way, okay, I can start paying myself. I can start having profitability. I can start making sure that I'm taken care of. So that way I can make sure the rest of the business is okay too.
Okay. So you nailed it, man. Profit account, owner's compensation account, a tax account. Those are the golden trio. The profit account, you had mentioned you can take up to 50% out every quarter, and you can use it to pay down debt. I love it. The owner's compensation account, this is you paying yourself for your time. And hopefully down the road, it's you paying yourself for your efforts, not your time. Because that's what allows you to break free of trading time for money, is by having that account funded, basically, right? Like you had said, if you could put 2 or 3 or 4 months, of your minimum number in that account, then if you want to take a 4-day weekend, you don't have to ask anybody.
Right?
Do anything you want, right? Love it. Number 3 was the tax account. And guys, this is really just to have money on deck for the government when they come knocking, asking for their money.
Right.
So if you're paying annually, this account's very, very important. If you're paying quarterly, this account's still very important to have that money aside. If you're paying every other week, this account is just as important. You want to have that money set aside for the government from the profits of your deals or the profits of your business, the income that's, net, of course, the way they calculate it. But you want to have that set aside so you're not having to dig into your own pocket or steal from your profit account or steal from your owner's compensation account. I love it. So funding these, you had mentioned as well, David, fund these accounts first. I mean, do you have a general percentage or average that you stick in each of these 3 roughly?
So that if you want the in-depth, get the book. The book has it for if you've got an active selling company, like the end goal is to sell the property, or if the end goal is to hold the company. I have different percentages for those depending on the size of your business. Because as the size changes, the percentages change. So it's like, if you're just getting started out though, I know what it is from 0 to 250,000. So if you're right at the beginning stage, it's 5% to profit, 50% to yourself, to the owner's comp, 15% to taxes, and then the rest of it that 30% goes to the operational expenses or the OPEX account. So that's a good goal to shoot for though. If you're already in real estate and you're like, those percentages sound nuts, like I'm already spending 95% of everything that comes in. Start where you are. If you have to start with 1% in those 3 accounts, the big thing that I want to get across is that it's the habits. It's the habit that we're forming, not necessarily that you have to start off where healthy businesses start. up to this point, you haven't had this education. You haven't had anyone tell you like, what is a healthy business and what should the percentages be? Well, now that you know, even if you have crazy out of control expenses, you can start with 1% to those other accounts and start where you are and then get consistently better from there. Reevaluate it every quarter. Like if it's really bad right now, can you do better over this next quarter and start allocating and transferring, better percentages to those accounts that are for you? It's like start with where you are, but it's more important that you start with and get that habit in place.
Man, I can't agree more. Absolutely. It's, because 50% owner compensation to a lot of people that are just getting started in their business may seem, crazy because they want to put it all back into marketing, but other people that may be normal, So again, start where you're at. I really want to emphasize that, in the profit account, you have 5%, and then you had 15 on taxes. I think both of those are great places to start. But again, guys, start where you are. If you're brand new to the game, those would be great rules of thumbs or great metrics to, strive for. Right. But
when you're starting, you might not have to pay yourself 50% because you've got a W-2 job. But the point is to start somewhere, even if it's 1% of that account, so you get into that habit. So it's like, just get that in place.
Yeah, I love it, man. I think that is a great approach. Okay. So by having these 3 additional accounts, the golden trio here, and to fund these accounts first, guys, this ultimately is going to change your habits, and it's going to start making you, and I'm going to circle back to what we talked about in the very beginning. This is going to allow you to start acting like wealthy people act, like people that own and operate successful businesses, right? Anybody can start a business. That doesn't mean you're going to have success in it. Anybody can start flipping houses. Doesn't mean you're going to make money doing it, right? But the wealthy people, the successful business owners, and the successful real estate entrepreneurs, flippers, landlords, they are diligent about paying themselves first and creating this as a habit. So utilize the habits of wealthy people, guys. This is exactly how you do it. So once you have these accounts set up, David, and you start funding these accounts, what's the next step? Or what's the next thing that you'd recommend somebody do?
Try and get into a rhythm with them. Meaning if you're newer in real estate and you're maybe selling one a quarter or, one a month or wherever you are right now, get into the habit of every time a deal closes, I put these into the different accounts by the percentages where I am right now, and then consistently try and get better. But I would create a rhythm that works for you. In the original Profit First book, he talks about like the 10th and 25th, but in real estate, we all know that closings happen whenever, wherever. This is not just something that usually comes in, on a consistent basis. If you're doing wholesaling, especially, or fix and flip or anything where the selling is the end goal. If you have rentals, it's easier because usually you're getting money should be coming in on a consistent basis from your tenants, near around the first of the month or whenever it is that you collect their money. So that's where get into the habit and the rhythms next of like, okay, money comes in, this is where it should go. And that's when, when you're actually now from every deal that takes place, you're moving money to those accounts first. So that's what I would say is get into those rhythms and make the habits a reality.
Holy cow. David, appreciate you coming on. Guys, you gotta check out Profit First for real estate investing. David, where can they go to get this book and learn more about you, man?
Sure. So we actually help people implement this with our business, which is like another step there. If you're like, that sounds like crazy nuts. Like I can't do all these bank accounts, or I don't want to set them up, or I'm scared I'd screw it up. That's how we help implement Profit First. If you go to simplecfosolutions.com, that's where you can actually go and get in touch with us. We've got to schedule the call button. If you actually go to simplecfosolutions.com/gift, it'll also send you some tools that you could use to implement right away. And also my book as well. I do the first 2 audiobook chapters because I know real estate investors love listening to the audiobook. So if you go there, it gives you some of those things as well. So you can actually start your journey. Like there's no reason not to start it. and get there. So simplecfosolutions.com. I've got the book link there. I've also got our podcast, which David was on recently. So his episode is going to be airing there on the Profit First REI podcast as well. But that's how you can connect with me and with our team. And, if you want more info on the Profit First, just whole methodology and mindset.
I love it. David, thank you so much for coming on, guys. David Richter with Profit First for Real Estate Investing. Check him out. Go directly to his website, simplecfosolutions.com, or go to simplecfosolutions.com and add the /gift for a freebie. And Dave's got a really great giveaway over there, guys. You can learn more about him, his business, his podcast, his book, and all things that are going to help you be a better investor, make more money, save and keep more money, pay less in taxes, be prepared to pay these taxes, all kinds of great stuff. So David, thanks again for coming on. One more time, guys, that's simplecfosolutions.com. Check it out. David, thanks for coming on the show. As always, it's great to network with you and connect with you and learn from you. And I even picked up a couple gold nuggets on this, which is amazing because I've read the book, but it's really, really great to always get that refresher. Love it.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. And remember to make profit a habit in your business.
That's it, guys. That's the quote right there. Make profit a habit in your business. And with that, we'll be signing off, guys. Thanks for listening. Don't forget, you make your money when you buy, you get paid when you sell. Signing off.
Thanks for listening to the Discount Property Investor Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe to help us reach a wider audience. To jumpstart your real estate investing career, visit freewholesalecourse.com, the most complete free course on wholesaling real estate ever. We would also appreciate it if you left us a review on iTunes or Stitcher. Thank you in advance for your support. And remember, you make your money when you buy, you get paid when you sell. Now let's go build some wealth.